let's attach the bottom mount that attaches to our boom pole. Now the one advantage over, say, the V67 is it's not side mounted. This is center weighted. Great if you want something that's balanced, but it doesn't swivel anywhere. That's where your actual mounting or stand, well, you'll want to consider with that. Now we're going to have to loosen this in order to tilt this right here. And there we go. It's actually fairly sturdy, but once we move it, it's now floppy and doesn't stay in place. That's because the screw right here, let's see if we can see that screw. The screw right here, it loosens up. Now we have to use a screwdriver and tighten that up. There, now it's tightened. So every time you're going to have to retighten it if you move it. But it does hold decently once it's tight, but that's something you should know. Hello, this is Eric of Sparky Studio, and welcome to my review of the JZ Microphone Vintage V11 Microphone. And of course, people wanted to mention the shipping screw. That maybe makes a difference, so let's find out and repeat that same line. Hello, this is Eric of Sparky Studio, and welcome to my review of the JZ Microphone Vintage V11 Microphone. Here's the pin this time. Was there a difference in sound? I don't know, but I'll remove this shipping pin that supports the capsule so it doesn't move for the rest of this video, other than the parts where I retake from my original review. But otherwise, I'm going to be retesting different things. When it comes to the Vintage V11 microphone, it picks up from 20 Hz all the way down to 20,000 Hz, with a hump in the deep low end, and of course a rise in the vocal end, where you want to pick up the tone and reject some of the sibilant sounds. So there's that aspect of it, which can give you that nice smooth podcaster sound. So if I want to do a podcaster sound, hello, this is Eric of Sparky Studio. Sparky Studio. Yeah. Right here I have a cheapo pop filter from Amazon. This was a little discount special. Looks kind of similar to the one from JZ Microphone, but I'm sure this is a lot cheaper. Plosive, plosive, plosive. Peter was a plosive eater. Plosive, plosive, plosive. Peter was a plosive eater. So this is a cheap pop filter that could work. It's not very fancy and it doesn't really stay in place very well, but it's good enough if this worked okay. Now let's try some other pop filters. Now I'm going to put this foam on here. Plosive test, plosive test, plosive test, plosive test, plosive test. Plosive test, plosive test, plosive test. That did help a bit, but not a whole lot. So now let's try the HyperX pop filter windshield. Now just to give you an idea of this windshield, it is far too flexible. It's too easy to move out of place, but let's do our plosive test anyways, and then I'll show you the problem with this. Plosive, plosive, plosive. Plosive, 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 plosive. And you can see there's a difference for sure. Now watch this. It's like perfect sizing, but that's what I hate. What garbage. Now, just being frank with you, this one should be definitely the best one of all. I'm going to attach this here. Now, this pop filter is definitely nice that the Goose Neck here, it's firm. It doesn't move out of place without forcefully moving it. And let's do that plosive test. Plosive, plosive, plosive. Plosive, plosive, plosive. Plosive, plosive, plosive. Plosive, plosive, plosive. And it doesn't pop. It's not like a pop rocket. It is not popping. It's not popping, dropping. Yeah. Okay, now let's get down to what I found with this one. This one had a bunch of plastic on the thread mount that attaches the boom pole that I had to remove. Otherwise, this one is fantastic. Just to see how quiet this 6.5 decibels of self noise really is. And for those wondering how that compares to the Lewitt Ray, the famous microphone right now with new features, that one is 9 decibels of self noise. So this is about half the noise of that microphone. This is super silent. Now let's listen to the self noise. test noise rejection of this microphone at different angles. Mic test 1, 2, 3. 90 degrees. Mic test 1, 2, 3. From behind. Mic test 1, 2, 3. Mic test 1, 2, 3. Let's try a distance away from this microphone to see how it responds at different distances. 1 inch away from the microphone. How am I coming through? 2 inches away from the microphone. How am I coming through? 6 inches away from the microphone. How am I coming through? 1 foot away from the microphone. How am I coming through? 2 feet away from the microphone. How am I coming through? 3 feet away from the microphone. And let's go further. Now I am a ridiculous 1 meter away from the microphone. How am I coming through? This is just doesn't even make sense. Who would do this? Now, one thing we want to find out is if you could use this for YouTube and just set it above like a shotgun microphone. So let's do that. Before we switch over to the JZ microphone, right now I am using the Sennheiser MKE50. How am I coming through using this microphone? Now let's switch over to the JZ Vintage V11. We're now listening to the JZ Microphone Vintage V11. How did that come through versus the MKE50? Now, this microphone does require a little bit more gain than that microphone. I can see from my waveforms on my audio interface. So there's that. One thing this microphone does not come with is a shock mount. JZ microphone does sell a shock mount. I can use it with several different ones because it's a thread-on style. So let's see if I can see that without the camera trying to look at me. But you have these little pins on the side, which you can adjust this shock mount for wherever you want it. But let's do some voice acting right now after I tap this. And after I switch over to the shock mount. So having the shock mount definitely helps for noise to reduce any bumping into the stand sort of noise. So that is definitely useful to have for this microphone. Now let's try some voice acting. Quillen, use the power within you! But I ain't got no power, except for these Power Hour chocolate bars. They're the best! So I knew this guy once, and he wore brown pants, and he left trails of brown all over the place. It's almost like he pooped himself. I find the sound to be a little too recessed for my liking. I find it doesn't at least get those accents as much as a high-end microphone. So if I switch back to, say, the Rode NTG, Krillin, use the power within you before it's too late. But I ain't got no power except for these Power Hour chocolate bars. They're the best. So I knew this guy once. He wore brown pants and left trails of brown all over the place. It's almost like he pooped himself. And it has that nice deep growly tone, but it doesn't have the proximity effect to the same degree as my Sennheiser MKE50. If I talk really close to that, I can really do that Duke Nukem voice as I do in my review of that microphone. So if I try to do Duke Nukem, hello, this is Duke Nukem. Hail the king, baby. Boom, mind blowing. Boom, mind blowing. This is Duke Nukem. It sounds brighter actually in a sense, but still has the proximity effect, but not, again, to the same degree. That Sennheiser MKE50 does plosive very easily. So does this one, especially without this foam on. And let's see if there's any difference in tone. I really don't know if there's much difference, if any difference at all. But if I talk towards the microphone, it does plosive very easy. If I do talk towards the microphone, it does plosive very easy. Not as easy as before, so I can plosive a little bit more without getting that strong popping sound. In terms of my voice is a little higher pitched, and the microphone does make a difference for me, as it can for you. Now, if I try to go really deep, how do I sound if I'm deep like this? I don't know. And I tried actually had someone with a deep voice use this microphone, and it didn't sound bad at all, like everyone else says. If you have a deep voice, it's probably not the mic for you. Well, guess what? Not a problem. I'll show you the quick scene where I simply recorded the guy with a deep voice for an ad I did.
Oopal, located City Center Mall, Kitimat, British Columbia. Come see them for your appliances and a good night's sleep.
This is Eric of Sparky Studio. Don't forget to subscribe and help this channel grow. And if you are subscribed or are subscribing right now, then you, yes, you are awesome. Thanks again for watching, and have yourselves a most wonderful day.